So I'm going to try and kick this into gear now. I've got 3 o'clock, so I'm going to get started. Appreciate you guys coming by. I hope that this will be informative for you. I wrote this presentation because what I've noticed lately is that there's really a lot of noise in the environment regarding what cybersecurity is, what it isn't, and what it takes to get into the profession and succeed in the profession. So, having been in this profession, one that I love, for over 3.5 decades, I felt it was important to just try and hopefully do some level setting, hopefully answer some questions for y'all, as well as try to sort fact from fiction, at least as I see it. Now, one of my rules is that when you've got someone who's been doing something for a long time, they probably need to give you an idea of what their background is, other than the fact that they're old and they've been doing something for a long time. So I want to put a couple of slides to talk about what the specifics are of my journey in cyber. And for me, that journey actually starts here. I'm a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. I'm a former Army intelligence officer. I spent just under 11 years between the late 80s and the very late 90s chasing bad guys and hopefully stopping bad people from doing bad things. If you remember during that time frame, and many of you aren't old enough to remember during that time frame, this was also the time when we began to see the advent of this thing we were calling the internet and networking of computers. And I was working in counterintelligence, and our job is to stop bad guys from stealing our stuff and our data. And I started asking the question, why are we concerned about these Coke cans and dead drops that you see in the movies when there's this thing called a floppy disk, Google it if you've never heard of it, that I could take a safe's worth of data and shove in my cargo pocket and walk away with? So I started putting my old computer science degree to use. I took one of the last punch card classes at college, so it was very old. Started thinking and learning about the internet theory, wrote or helped contribute to some of the early regulations for automated information systems, as we called them back in the military, and finished my tour of duty here at the National Security Agency doing work that this was pre-cybercom, doing work that was called Information Warfare Protect. So my job was to figure out how the bad guys come after us and try and build systems and networks and functions to stop them. So I got out in the late 90s, spent 5 years doing some consulting work during the .com era, helping people build online presence, systems, etc. About the early 2000s, I took my first gig in-house as a chief information security officer for a financial services company. For between 2003 and 2016, my job was to build, operate, and manage secure networks for various industries. Most of that time was in financial services, though I did some work in the defense sector and other areas. Most of my opportunities were what I would call break-fix opportunities. These were, the environment's been breached, the previous 2 CISOs have failed, we're building, we're divesting. Your job's to come in and rebuild security, build security from the ground, get us certified, get us accredited, and oh, by the way, turn the team around so that they're highly functional. I got a lot of this gray hair doing that for a long time. You know, loved the job, loved the profession, love what I do. 2016, I was getting tired of traveling on the road. I was working in Ohio while living in Arizona. Most people commute the other way, but you know, it's what it was. And said, maybe it's time for me to get the next generation ready. So I decided to undergo a career change. You know, I decided to actually spend my time educating. I went to work full-time for Arizona State University. I built one of their 4 cyber degree programs from scratch because I was not satisfied with what I was seeing from graduates from that program or any of those programs out there from a collegiate level. You know, as my friends and colleagues came up here to build the core program at Boise State, I became affiliated faculty at Boise State, as well as on the advisory board for the Institute of Pervasive Cybersecurity up here, which is one of the reasons I'm sitting here today talking to you. In addition, one of our professional education organizations, SANS, runs a leadership track, and I have been teaching security strategy planning, leadership, and operations for SANS for about 2 years right now. So I spent a lot of my time and a lot of my energy and a lot of my focus on not having to do what I do at age 70 and getting y'all ready to do it and do it better than I could ever do it if you choose to enter this noble and honorable profession. In the meantime, by the way, because there is no such thing as an unemployed cybersecurity professional, I not only started my own business where I do virtual CISO mentorship, and I've got a couple clients right now in the Fortune 500, but a large company called Intuit, you may know them for TurboTax, QuickBooks, and Credit Karma, etc., came tapping me on the shoulder and said, would you come on staff and help and work for us as well? So my day job, on top of all of those things that I do for fun, is I run security operations for Intuit and try and stomp on bad guys and protect your money as it comes through our systems. All of that to say, while my journey's probably different from yours, I've got a lot of different experience, not only running different shops, building different organizations, and hiring different people to come do different jobs out there. So while you may hear things that may contradict what you've heard in other environments, you may hear things that you may disagree with. I'm hoping that you'll at least understand that it's coming less from a position of bias and more from a position of, that's a very long and heavily and arduous paved road that I've been down. I am hoping to smooth that road out for you as you tend to, or if you wish to go down that road yourself. So, and I will leave time for questions at the end, so bear with me as we go through. So, first thing I want to do is sort through some of the noise. There are a handful of standard questions that I get every time I go anywhere and talk to kids or people thinking about cyber, and I want to give you my answers to those questions as we go forward and hopefully help. First question is, what does a career in cyber look like? I wish there was an easy answer to that question, but I do have some framing for you if I may. One of the things when I first took my CISO gig is I was fortunate to run into other fellow CISOs who served as sounding boards, served as friends and mentors, and one of them gave me the best piece of advice regarding career planning, that every job I've had, every new person who comes in, I give them the same advice and give them the same speech. And if you want an understanding of where the career looks like, I think it's a good starting point. What he said to me is, he asked me the question, he said, Kim, what is it you enjoy about cybersecurity? And at the end of the day, his hypothesis, which has proven true all these years for me, is that when you boil down the pieces, it boils down to one of three things. You like playing with the toys, you like making money, or you like solving problems. Now, while there are many places along these paths where you can stop and have a really, really good career, the top of the food chain is usually one of these three areas. If you really like playing with the leading, if not bleeding technology out there, you're looking at something involved in research and development across the board. That means working for a research university, bless you, possibly being a chief scientist for various companies. Intel, as an example, hires chief scientists. Symantec hires chief scientists. Intuit has chief scientists. Or working for a fully funded research and development center somewhere. Pluses and minuses. You like playing with toys? You will have tons and tons and tons of fun. You will be solving cutting edge problems. As an example, for the last panel when we were talking about the metaverse, I asked the question, what are you doing about securing the metaverse for the last panel? Chief scientists will be the ones who will be actually on point for answering those questions. Financially, it's not a bad gig. There's no bad gig in security these days financially. But the disadvantage is two things. One, of all of the career paths that you deal with in cyber, it is the least financially advantageous. And two, the coin of the realm are degrees, not certifications, not time in the trenches. I know very few, and that's not true, I know no chief scientist who doesn't have at least one master's degree and at least one PhD. So if this is a path that you enjoy, get used to schoolwork. You won't be there a long time. Nothing wrong with it, but understand that's the coin of the realm. You see the financial opportunities that are out here within cyber, and you see it as a potentially lucrative career, and you really the sky is the limit, you're really looking at founding your own business or creating your own product. When I say founding your own business, there are various flavors of that. Consulting partners within large consulting firms are business owners. They are the owners of the firms. So they fit into this mold. You can run your own business as well if you're really interested in that. Ed Vasco, who directs the Institute up here, is a 5-time successful entrepreneur. You ought to go talk to him. Okay? There are advantages and disadvantages here. Okay? Money, sky's the limit. The right product, the right business model, the right service, staying ahead of the marketplace. Work hard, do the work. The sky is the limit. The potential is there. Disadvantage. Okay? Your security skills become secondary to your business knowledge. Okay, now, I will say this to my brother from another mother, Ed, who is the other half of my brain. He's an absolute fantastic technologist. But his days and nights when he was in the business world were profit, loss, sales pipeline. Profit, loss, sales pipeline. Okay? He's still a great technologist, but that's where he spends his focus. So if you want to head down this realm, understand that's where you're going to be. Amit Yoran, former founder of NetWitness, former CEO of RSA, now sits as the CEO of Tenable. Okay? Buddy of mine I've known for years as well. He spends his time, profit, loss, sales pipeline. Okay? You like solving problems? You like whipping up on bad guys? You like keeping people safe? Your path to be a chief information security officer. That's what we do. Period, full stop. Advantages. Money's pretty good. Okay? It's in the middle of the road between the research scientist and the sky's the limit piece on the business end. It's good living. Okay? I have heard of this mythical thing called boredom. Okay? I have more proof that the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus exist than this thing called boredom. Okay? There is never a dull moment in my life at all. And I love it. I really do. Okay? The disadvantage is, there is a ceiling on the dollars. Okay? It's a good ceiling, but there's a ceiling on the dollars. And there's a bit of, they're the same types of challenges. It's different day, different company. Every company I've helped rebuild has challenges with password, identity and access management, business continuity, server patching, etc. Solving those problems in a way that provides value to that business, integrates with the culture, and is accepted within the revenue line that the business is in, that's the 20% of the problem that makes this job fun. Okay? But yes, vulnerability management has been a problem since they turned on the first computer. Password management has been a problem since passwords came into existence. Today, the most popular cracked password is still password. And the second most is still password 123. Still. And I've been doing this a long time. Okay? Now, there are many paths to get up there, and these are just some job titles. There are 1,000,000,001 out there. You've seen them out there. You continue to see them out there. But what I tell people when I talk about career pathing and a career in cyber is real simple. If you want to get to the top of those food chains, keep your eye on the prize and make your decisions accordingly. If you really want to be a research scientist, don't take the gig that puts you on the road 50 weeks out of the year so you can't complete your master's degree or go back to school. If you want to be a business owner or an entrepreneur, maybe instead of taking the job to do what I do, which is security operations, you take a tour supporting the sales team, or you maybe even get out of band and get into finance and accounting and learn those pieces of it. Keep your eyes on the prize, understand where you want to go, and then plan accordingly. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. This is a big one. Okay. Do I have to go to college in order to be in cyber? Okay. That is a huge, almost the subject of a civil war, if not a religious war, inside of my profession. So I'm going to try and separate some theory from hard reality, because in point of fact, there are good points on both sides of this argument. On one side, those who say you don't have to go to college would say real world experience should be the only bar we measure against. I agree. And unless you want to go into management, college isn't necessary. I vehemently disagree. There are jobs out there that you can get in cyber without going to college. Note, there are jobs out there you can get in cyber without going to college. They are few and far between, and there's a difference between a job and a career. Okay? I've been in the business a long time. Of the hundreds of CISOs that I know one that doesn't have a college degree. I know many people who started down the path and have found themselves topped out below where they want to be and have to go back to college in order to advance. So it is possible, and I would be lying to you if I said it wasn't. But as you'll see in a couple of slides, the probability is on the side where you probably ought to go. On the side for college, college does improve critical thinking skills. Folks, in order to think critically, you have to have a decent base of fundamental knowledge to compare and contrast things with. College gives you that opportunity beyond just theory to take those pieces outside the areas that you are in to build your ability to think critically. Okay? And I tell people there are two uses for college across the board. And there are a couple of professors in the room who may hate me, but I swear by this to this day. College demonstrates to me two things. One, you can finish what you started. That's good, particularly in cyber. And two, you have some level of knowledge beyond the very narrow job description that I am hiring you for, which by definition means you are a better critical thinker than the person who just took the Python course and I'm going to drop into the environment and say they can script, because they don't have context. You want another reason I think you need to go to college? This. I belong to a group called Pulse. We are technology professionals in companies usually ranging in size from 1,000 upwards to 10,000 plus across the globe. I put together a survey. This is 140 North American respondents regarding the minimum set of requirements for entry-level cyber jobs. You get to choose one. If you do the math on the top two, that tells you that 53% of respondents say you have to have a 4-year degree or they will not hire you. So regardless of the rhetoric that a goodly portion of my peers may be saying, and then again, I can understand why, and I agree why, in some cases, the hiring math says your odds are here, 53%. By the way, that gets larger if I add in the non-North American numbers. Okay? High school diploma, you can see it there. If I were to break down what I see as the entry-level hiring pyramid in terms of priority as your resume crosses my desk, this is it. You've got a high school diploma, you've knocked around in a lab, and you can spell cyber right 2 times out of 3, and you really like what's going on, great. You're at the bottom of the pyramid. You're my last resort if I have no other candidates and I'm desperate, and I still may not hire you because I'm not sure what you can do. If you can't afford college, do I have some sort of entry-level certification? There are several of them out there, Security Plus being one, the SSCP being another. Have I done something beyond just play around with the toys that says I may have an interest, a passion, and I know what I'm doing? The degree is still primary method. You know the top of the list? Get both. Get your degree and take some time beyond that to get a certification. Now, I want to introduce one phrase to you as you hear people who say, I don't need to go to college is just theory, etc. And I've been trying to promulgate this phrase whenever I talk. It's called prepared for work. The challenge that we have, or the challenge that the folks who say you don't need to go to college, then that what they'll pontificate about is it doesn't prepare you for work. No, that's not true. Okay. But what we don't necessarily do, but programs like Boise does well, and what we've done at Arizona State very well, is we've learned how to articulate what you have done to prepare you for work. I'll give you an example. I teach governance, risk, and compliance still at ASU. And so you go to a student and say, what did you do? Well, I learned the NIST cyber framework. I understand what a control is. I've done that. No. What you have done to prepare you for work is you analyzed an existing breach against an existing framework, the NIST Cybersecurity framework. You identified potential controls that would have prevented that breach, and then you briefed the board consisting of current cybersecurity professionals making those recommendations to tell them how to avoid getting breached And oh, by the way, your artifacts or your portfolio or your presentation in your paper. Okay? That's something that someone who's sitting my chair could say, okay, that's not academia, that's not theory. I have people who need to do that today. Talk to me about that. So in many cases, my challenge to you when you go through your college classes is think about the phrase prepare to work and how you articulate what you have learned and translate it to beyond that to what you have done in language that an employer will understand. Push your professors for this. In many cases, it's just a language gap. They're doing the work, they're not translating well. We're two people separated by a common language. Create that commonality. Ask for that commonality because you're getting what you need in class, trust me. Now, there are those for whom college is not an option financially. I understand that. If you have to stop here and you are still interested, please do these things. Okay? Take the time to blog and publish and get yourself known out there regarding some of what you're doing. Take the time to network and join groups like ISACA and ISC Squared and other chapters. There are plenty of companies that have bug bounty programs. Okay? Reach out to them. You know, if you find bugs and flaws, become a researcher and reach out to them. So that when the time comes and you're looking for that gig, you're not just some stranger who I've seen once in an auditorium. You're that guy who writes that blog or that gal who writes that blog regularly that, oh, by the way, 3 of my guys read regularly, and you sent in 3 or 4 vulnerabilities. Okay, let's have a conversation. You don't have paper behind you, but I know what you can do. And I know that you have some capability. I might take a chance on you. So if you can't do any of the things above the pyramid, make sure you're doing these things as well. Okay? This helps you create your brand. And that's what's going to help you get hired. Making sense? Okay. Is cyber a diverse field? Okay. It's easy and would be easy for me to pontificate as an African American and part Hispanic male of a certain age that, yeah, we've got tons of diversity. I may not necessarily be telling you the truth. Now, if I talk to you about my peers and I, we would be the first person to tell you cyber, in my opinion, is the greatest meritocracy ever. Because, and excuse my language, but I really don't give a damn about your race, creed, color, sexual orientation, gender, etc. I don't care. I got 2 questions. Do you like hard work? Do you like whipping up on the bad guys? Beautiful, come play. Okay, I got plenty of work for you. I don't care. And everyone, Brett Arsenault at Microsoft, John Stewart, formerly of Cisco, you know, we all think the same way. These are guys I drink beer with. These are guys I hang out with. We all think the same way. This is what we are looking for. Despite that, our numbers say we aren't there. Okay? Latinos, you know, people who meet both my criteria, African American and Hispanic, collectively are 12% of the cybersecurity profession right now. Women, I'm sorry to say, you've been hovering around 11% for the past 10 years. Okay? We're sucking wind. And in an environment where we are a shortage profession, and I need at least 1 million of you in the next 5 years, we got to fix that. We're trying hard. I think we're beginning to get serious about it. That's not fair. We are getting serious about it. Okay, organizations like Cybersecurity, which was formerly the International Consortium of Minority Cyber Professionals, which are advocating and creating opportunities and creating networking. Women in Cybersecurity, which is also now has a global conference to do the same thing. The Grace Hopper conferences out there, which cater to women collectively across technology. We are doing things to not just energize the pipeline, but to truly make hiring fair and equitable. Intuit, tooting my company's horn, has a goal to be 50% female and representative of the community within 3 years. We're on track to hit that goal. Okay? By the end of next year, fiscal year, we should be at about 37% collectively across the board, across my boss's organization for female, and our ethnic diversity numbers are about match what you see within, you know, the demographics of the country. So we put our money where our mouth is. We're supporting these efforts. We're attempting to move forward. And there are a lot of companies out there doing that. But the challenge is, if you're looking for someone who looks like you, talks like you, came up like you, and you're not, and I use this regularly, please don't take offense. The demographics say that we are right now a community predominantly made up of older white men. Or as my buddy Ed likes to say, pale, male, and stale, okay? And I'm two of those categories, by the way, okay? If you're looking for that, you may not find it as easily as you would hope. But we are there, we're active, and we're listening, and we want you to come. Please, we need you to come. All right, let me sort of, okay, I'm doing well. Well, let me sort a little bit out in terms of fact versus fiction regarding what our community looks like and what we do. Okay? I used to, still do occasionally, get students and people interested, well, you just need to know how to hack to be in cyber. You just need to know how to hack to be in cyber. You know, I'm not a hacker, so I can't be in cyber. Okay? This is a mind map of what your CISO thinks about and is responsible for. Okay? If you saw Ed's presentation yesterday, you saw a different version of the same thing. Okay? Let me point out to you where hacking is. Hacking is right there. It's right there. It's right there. And it might be right. It's 4 lines of this chart. 4. Okay? I need to know how bad guys think. I need to know how bad guys operate. I need to understand how holes work. But folks, I took the last punch card class in college. They were rolling out 286 PCs, Google it if you don't know what that is, to these freshmen when I was a senior. Okay? It's been a long time since I've done anything I could credibly represent as hacking. Okay? All this other stuff in terms of incident response, data protection, governance, privacy, etc. All of these are pathways to be me when I grow up, when you grow up. I'll never grow up. When you grow up. Okay? All of these are things I got to worry about. All of these are opportunities. So do you need to understand how the tech works? Yeah. Do you need to understand how bad guys think? Oh, absolutely. Okay. Do I need to have been a hacker in order to get, no. I got plenty of space for you. I just placed one of my honor students from ASU who, her technical background is so-so, loves governance. I just placed her in an internship in a multinational data center company to help run their third-party risk assessment program for governance. And it's looking like she's going to get a job out of that. She's thrilled to death. Yeah, plenty of opportunity here, guys. So if you have no desire to hack, doesn't mean that there's no place for you here. Please. I got this one a lot, particularly. I just want a job where I can sit around and not talk to anyone. Too late. Too late. Dude, you would twitch. You know that. You know that. All right? In other words, you think this is who I hired. Okay. I call this my representative pizza boy. You lock them in a room, you shove pizza under the door, they solve any technical problem you have, but please, God, don't make them talk to anyone, particularly someone of the opposite sex. They will melt down and die. Okay? Now, hate to say it, excellent technologists who love to just geek out on problems need them. I can't, and by the way, there are pizza girls out there too. Don't be going there. Okay? I can't afford pizza boys within my organization. Part of my job is communication. And when I was the CISO of a company called Vantiv, which became WorldPay and FIS, we are the largest debit and credit card processor in the world. You know, my CEO used to wander the halls regularly. And when he would wander the halls and have a question, you know, he would stop the first person that he would find. First person he would find would someone who about your age, you know, seriously, you know, my entry-level analyst, Danny, she would have to translate the question that he asked, answer it in a way that he could understand, and he's not a geek, and also understand enough to know, don't overcommit your boss's boss, that's me, into something I can't do, and do it regularly and comfortably at 22. Okay? That's normal for what we do. Don't believe me? Same pulse survey. Tell me, and there were multiple choices, tell me the knowledge, skills, and abilities you need for entry level. Yeah, cloud's up there. Critical thinking, hello. Verbal communication, right on par with problem solving. Okay, other than cloud, not a lot of tech up there. Network security tools is in there. You know what the one that didn't hit the chart because it was too big at 55%? Written communication. Problem solving, critical skills, verbal and written communication are 4 of the top 6 skills people are looking for. So the fact that you're a great geek, the fact that you know the code, fantastic. Okay? If you can't communicate and translate your problems or concerns in a language that I can understand, that's really not a help in this field. And you have to have those fundamentals, and you have to be willing to work on those fundamentals if you're going to go far here. Any of us old enough other than myself to remember the old movie Philadelphia, Denzel Washington and Tom Hanks? Okay, great line. He used to say, okay, explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old. That was my mantra as a CISO. Tell my guys, explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old with the caveat so I could explain it to the 3-year-olds I work for. Okay, if you can't translate, you have a problem. Okay, it's hugely, hugely important. So there's a place for everybody, to include introverts as well as extroverts. There's a place for everybody in cyber, but I need you to understand, I can't just put you in a cave and tell you you can't communicate, because you're not going to survive and you're not going to thrive. This is not the career path for that. Okay. Cyber is a technology problem. Well, hopefully some of the things that I've talked to you about in the surveys have given you some indication that it's more than tech between the surveys and the mind map, but there are tons of portions here. Yes, technology is a big portion, but privacy, governance, risk across the board, frameworks, critical thinking, communications, problem solving, logic, all of this goes into making a great cyber professional. All of this, in some form or fashion, is what I'm looking for. It's what my peers are looking for. It's what makes you a better candidate should this be something that you wish to pursue. So yes, know this stuff, understand this stuff, continue to work this stuff, but not to the detriment of this stuff. Take the opportunities to stand up in front of your peers and speak in public fora. Take the opportunities to learn to write a good paper that somebody who doesn't have your technical background can read. Take the opportunities to stretch your parameters and horizons and think about problems differently. I mean, even just sitting around and thinking about the permutations of what could be going on in the world right now and its implications on cyber, Russia, Ukraine, cyber conflict, when it's going to happen, etc., and to begin to piece and parse those apart, to exercise those muscles regarding critical thinking, huge, huge. So do this, but don't neglect that. Make sense? All right, let me pull it together for you. I'm not tracking too badly. Okay, we are a multifaceted, interdisciplinary career path. Okay? Plenty of ways to get in, plenty of things to do, plenty of problems to solve, and by God, we need you. I don't want to be working till I'm 70, 75, 80 because there aren't enough of us. And at this point, I might be because there aren't enough of us. So please, if you have even the remotest interest, please talk to folks here. The Institute of Pervasive Cyber is fantastic. The core program here is fantastic. Yes, I am biased to both because the people who put them together are phenomenal at what they do and have taken a realistic approach. But you have a world-class program sitting in your backyard. Take advantage of it, please. Okay, plenty of opportunities, multiple paths to success, multiple places along that path where you can stop and sit and just have fun. Okay. I have folks working for me who said, I never want your job. I'm happy doing what I'm doing here. I do this, I do it at this level, I never want your job. Great. Okay. I have no problem with her sitting right at that level, continuing to perform. She's wonderful and I will pay her well to do that. Okay. Happy to do it. There's a lot of skewed data out there as well. Okay? If this is your vision of cyber, okay, this is not the correct vision. Okay? If your vision of cyber is Neo from the Matrix, it's not the correct vision. Okay? It really, really isn't. So please ask questions. Ask questions of people who've been there. Ask questions of people who don't have an axe to grind. Folks, I admit my biases, but I'm very happy to tell you that if it doesn't make sense for you, here's an alternate path. What I loved about my job at ASU and what I love about my job here is when I sit down with students and I talk to them and say, okay, what have you done? Where are you going? Okay, this doesn't make sense for you. Try this path. At ASU, I've routed people to the community college because it was a better holistic solution for them. It was the right thing to do. And what you'll find is that cyber professionals will do the right thing and not just try and steer you into programs to try and put bottoms in seats. So ask the right questions. Okay? Shout out for bias. You have a world-class cyber professional sitting there. Ask him lots of questions, because whether he likes it or not, he just doesn't really like to sit and not talk to anyone. Ask him lots of questions. All right, I am running 4 minutes ahead of schedule. That's not too bad. That'll leave more time for questions. Okay, my contact data is here. Okay, if you reach out to me via LinkedIn, please mention that you saw me, heard me, etc. in Boise at Treefort, because I got lots of vendors trying to become my new best friend and sell me stuff, and I tend to ignore them. So at least mention you've mentioned me here. Okay, I don't do a lot on Twitter. I still believe you can't spell Twitter without twit, and that's kind of bugs me, but I have to be present. So email, I do tend to answer right away. You're welcome to link into me via LinkedIn. If you have questions or comments, please, if you don't get to ask them here or they come up later, I urge you to reach out. Okay, I will talk to anybody who wants to learn about the profession. I love mentoring anyone who wants to actually follow in my footsteps or others to try and get there smartly. So I am available. I have now 12 minutes before I have to give up the time. I want to leave 10 for questions. My time is yours, ladies and gentlemen. What are your questions of me? You can't have a question. Well, you can, please.
Thank you, Kim. And that's the first time I heard Kim give this talk, and he's going to give this talk again, hopefully, at another seminar that we are hosting.
Okay, I had a different one planned, but I can give this talk again.
Yes, perfect.
All right, I'm giving this talk again.
The reason why I want to comment on what you say is because student has a really skewed view of what cybersecurity is about. And I'll tell you what I did. I told a student that he cannot sign up for a particular thing that he want to do, and I want him to sign up for internship. It's because when I look at that kid over a video link, ooh, he want to stay in his apartment, his house, in front of his computer. That's not going to work, and I want you to sign up for internship. And guess what I did too? I put it as a degree requirement that they have to do internship before they can graduate.
Yes.
I can see a bunch of students tweaking, and then I was, ooh, I really enjoy that. So just want you to know.
Watch them twitch. Yeah. All kidding aside, you know, in addition to the experience you get in the classroom, I urge everybody to take the opportunity to intern. Yeah. Yes, paid internships would be wonderful, whether available, etc. If you can't find a paid internship, I know there are lots of nonprofits, not-for-profits, church groups, etc., who would love your volunteer time to sit down and help them do things. I was talking to another buddy of mine in Kentucky who, you know, is now not on the cyber path right now, who's been basically acting as a virtual CISO for this nonprofit group. So, dude, just tell them that, you know, you want to take that title. I guarantee you they'll be happy and add it to your resume. You know, that way you stay on path, and they're happy to do that. You know, to be able to say, in addition to what you've learned and what college has prepared you for work, that I spent time doing X and doing Y, huge. You know, there are tons and tons of people who need out there. Yeah. Other questions, please don't be shy. I know I tend to be a little vociferous. I'm passionate about the field, but if there are other questions, please ask.
CISO, ASU, BSU, mentoring. I'm in awe of your time management and prioritization. And, you know, for someone who feels burnt out at the end of one job, like, I'm really curious, any advice you have for, hey, how do you have the energy, or what do you prioritize in terms of getting that fulfillment?
Great general life question. Okay, I will say a couple of things in that regard. One, do what you're passionate about. I have always been passionate about education and making things better and keeping people safe. You know, there's a truism to the statement that if you really are passionate about what you do, you don't work a day in your life. So on top of this, before my knees went and before the spare tire hit, I used to teach self-defense regularly. I still have several high-ranking belts in several styles. So my weekends would be spent on the mat getting thrown around by people half my age. So, I'm very, very passionate about, just keeping people safe. The other things that I do is, if you look up the big rock story that's out there regarding put the big rocks in your jar first, okay, that is hugely important. Google it. You'll see a couple of different YouTube videos if you're not familiar with the parable. But you put the big rocks in the jar first. The things that are most important to you, don't let those move. Help with prioritization. As you go up the stack, there are a couple other things that I do tactically. One, I clear my email queue to 0 every 2 weeks across 9 accounts. I don't let email linger. And because, frankly, I've told this to CEOs across the board, and I had one come back and said, I used to do Bikram yoga. This is even better than that. Just that exhale of looking at an empty inbox across the board. I haven't looked at email in 2 days. I'm only 60 emails behind, and I'll clear most of those on the plane home. The second thing is I never double book. I never double book my time, because that's saying I don't believe that some one of those people's time is as important. And if anyone's looking for my time, I make it very simple. If you need my time and it's that important, it's important enough for you to find a slot where I'm available. Because if you're on my calendar is sacrosanct, and there are only 4 people who can move it. They are in order of priority: my wife, my boss, his boss, and the CEO. And here's a hint: my wife really doesn't care about your problem, so you got 3 chances, okay? I do those things collectively, strategically, in terms of figure out what you're passionate about, put the big rocks in first, and then tactically, clear your emails and don't double book. You do that, you will find you have more time than you think. I've been doing that for decades. It does help. Other questions? Yes? Yeah.
So how much need do you see right now in the industry with cybersecurity consultancy? I mean, is it something that you think, certainly should be growing more of?
Cybersecurity consultancy? Yeah. How much need do I see in the industry for cybersecurity consultancy?
Consultancy question.
That was the question? Yes. Okay. That's a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, if I can't hire enough people with expertise, or I'm a smaller company that can't afford to put someone like me with my years on salary at anything close to what I make now, then there is an opportunity for you to consult and bring that expertise in, and basically what you're doing is you're time sharing that consultant across the board. So the plus side is, in an area where we are at shortage, finding good consultants and bringing them on board, huge opportunity. That's the plus side. The minus side, entry-level consultant is an oxymoron. You're not going to bring me somebody with 0 level experience and tell them you're going to have me pay your consulting hourly rate to test you out on my environment. I'll do that. I'll hire you myself. I'll get you cheaper in the long run. 0 experience consultants? No, not going to happen. Let me rephrase. The company that brings them is not going to get hired by me. And the company that actually hires consultants that you have 0 level of experience is probably not going to do well. So there is opportunity. I would not necessarily look at that as an entry-level job. One exception. The governance, risk, and compliance side tracks closely with audit. You may find that some of the auditing sides have need for you to flex your tech skills. It's not an exact path, but I'd bring you in entry level, put somebody over you, and give you some idea about controls. That I might take you as an entry level and see you on there as long as there was somebody to supervise. That's the only path where I'd say, yeah, I can do that. Does that make sense? Agree, disagree? Got it. Yes, sir. Let's wait for.
Yeah. So it gets on the recording.
No worries.
I found the same catch-22 in project management.
Yeah.
So how do you get into project management if you have no experience and you need 400 hours underneath somebody who has a PMP?
Okay, so one, I can't speak.
Professional certification.
I can't speak to the PMP. I'm familiar with the PMP requirements, but I can't speak to the PMP project management piece of it. I can relay for the cyber piece of it for those pieces and parts, which in my opinion would be in what I would tell people from an entry-level standpoint. Again, from my perspective, there's a lot of need out there, and there's a lot of need for people hiring out there. And I got to tell you, I hire entry-level people all the time. I hire entry-level people all the time. You know, I understand. Okay, I'm sorry.
What's my entry path?
Yeah, one project coordinator. Yeah. The issue is, you know, I can talk to that as someone who has worked alongside project managers, but I'm a career cyber professional. So take what I say with a grain of salt. Yes, project coordinator is your entry-level path within the environment. Yes, there are companies looking for people with project management skills to bring them in as a project coordinator and raise them to project manager, at which time, as part of that, they get the PMP certification. That's the usual path I see. Now again, I'm not a career project manager, so I'm speaking above my skis, but I am an old guy who's worked with them, so I would tell you that, yeah, that's probably accurate. There you go. Anyone else? Yeah, again, I just don't want to lead you astray, but I want to make sure I'm giving you the right data.
Straight up.
Hey, we got to talk then. All right. What you got?
I guess this is not really a question, but a reinforcement of what you're saying. Back in the late 70s, there was an article in Scientific American about the number of programmers that survived through a generation of programming, and the number was very small.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I look out here, I see a lot of young people here that at the time I was your age, I was programming in Lisp, Objective-C, C++, and
yeah.
well, I did punch cards, but all I'm saying is that if you decide you're going to stick in technical, you really have to be prepared to handle change.
Yeah.
Like vast change.
Yeah, and this is a place where I would talk about that basis of theory. I know I've got about 2 minutes. That basis of theory and that foundation helps, okay? Since 1983, which is when I entered college, punch cards, BASIC, Fortran, C++, 286 machines, laptops, internet wireless, Wi-Fi, pads, mobile phones, wearables, Internet of Things. Understanding the theory and being able to apply it across multiple platforms is why I'm still here. Because the problems that I'm trying to solve, you can't Google the answer for. If there's an answer on Google, that's not what the bad guys are doing. Okay? I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to do that we haven't figured out and do it as tech changes. Okay? That's where that critical thinking piece hits. That's why that matters. Please.
Kim, now this is a real question. A lot of if we wanted to hit male and female, let's say just stay with male and female for now.
Yeah.
In terms of workforce, right? A lot of program out there could potentially be at most 10% female.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How are we ever going to hit that 50-50? I don't see it in 5 years. I'm an educator myself. I don't see it. But what I want to say is when we design the curriculum, the program with the right complexity removed, we were able to hit 30-35% female right out of the gate. So where do you see this is going?
Well, my first answer to you would be we need to stop driving out the female population in our engineering curriculum, because we are, and it's not a matter of complexity, it's a matter of culture. And I'll give you a simple example. Cyber warfare range. Arizona pioneered the concept of the cyber warfare range, which was just basically a free fire place you could go in and work, etc. Okay? We had people showing up all the time, and then we noticed that the female population dropped off considerably. Why? Because no one likes to be surrounded by a bunch of assholes who are crude, rude, socially unacceptable, and don't treat women as peers or equals, and either mansplains or is just rude to them. So there was actually an effort to set up a female cyber warfare range, which is BS that we had to do that. These are the environments that we drop our very, very smart, very, very capable women who have an interest into, and then complain, oh, it's their fault when they leave. Drives me crazy. Absolutely drives me crazy. We are culturally driving out women and minorities. And think about it, they don't have as many role models as the rest of us. Just by gender, there aren't as many role models in terms of where can you go. Another quick example, I apologize. I know I'm on time. I hired a deputy CSO my first tour. Brilliant young lady. Name was Rachel. Yeah, you know Rachel. Okay. I said, okay, first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a female mentor. And she looked at me and says, what? Are you too good to mentor me? And I said, no, it's not that. I can teach you how to be an excellent cyber professional. I can't teach you how to be a woman in cyber. You will go through things and see things and experience things that I can't fathom. You know, and I'm a black man who lived in Massachusetts who had a cross burned on his lawn at 15. Okay? And I still can't go and understand what you've gone through. She hated me saying that, and I said to her the same thing I said to my son. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not right, it's not wrong. It is. And as long as it is, you will have to rail against it, which I want you to, fight to improve it, which you will, and I will make sure you do while you work for me. But in the meantime, you gotta figure out how to survive it. So you want to answer that question? Well, you're right. To make the bottom of the funnel work, we got to deal with the top. We got to stop driving women and minorities out of our programs. And we suck at it. We got to be better. And with that tirade, I will step off the soapbox. Thank you for your time.